Okay. We're going to look at other types of families today quickly. And I'm going to start with a door family and just build like a simple door, simple single door, and then also show you how you can control the graphic representation for some of the views of the families you're creating, because you need to also create some graphic lines for how you want them to be represented in the plan drawings or elevations. So we'll be looking at that. Let me open my hotel. So the door I'll be looking at is the door of the individual rooms. This one. These doors. So we were thinking about like preparing also interior rendering for this project. So I'll be looking at how to customize the graphics of this door basically, so that we can also add some features to it. If you look at the sections, let me see. My floor heights are at 11 feet, but my doors would be at 10 feet. So the door I'm going to design is going to be from slab to the ceiling. So it's going to be 10 feet total. Later on, we could actually create a suspended ceiling here or here, but I'm thinking the doors we could maybe adjust. If we need, we could adjust the heights of the custom families we're going to create. So let's create a door family and see how we can incorporate it in our project. So I'm going to go to Revit again, and the R button, new. I'm going to create a family, and from the templates I'm going to choose metric door and hit open. Now by default the door family comes in with a specification of kind of a direction for the placement of the door and a host object, which is going to be the wall. So it already tells us which side is going to be the exterior and which side is going to be interior. So in this case we could think of the door opening towards the inside, but we'll be able to switch that type of arrangement as well. So we could just model it opening towards the top, towards the exterior. And the wall, you pretty much don't have to do anything to it, because, yeah. Revit, new family, metric door. So yesterday I was working with metric furniture. Today we're going to do metric floor, metric door, and the metric column. Huh? Let me see. I have two libraries. There's also the other one. You can also use this one. It's fine. I just chose the first library I have. I guess one of them is American. The other one is European. It actually doesn't matter. Let me check if the units in this one is. Yeah, this one is in centimeters. I could open the other one, no problem. So let's go to new family door. Right, so this is in inches and feet. So by default, we should have some parameters already embedded in this family. So if you go to family types, there are some basic dimensions already incorporated into the family for the opening or the size of the door. So if you go to the 3D view, this is what it looks like right now. So there is no panel here. We just have a surface to host our modeling. We have these, I think these are called sidings, maybe. These frames, and we have a hole. So if you want to change that, customize it for now, you'll be able to override some of these properties that are already embedded in the family. So you can type in, we want a 4 feet wall, 4 feet door, and then the opening would adjust, right? So any type of modeling we do inside of this hole, it will be stretched along with the family type properties, right? Which are the openings. So I'm going to start by doing a simple panel, and then creating some windows in it, and then creating a handlebar. So I'll just draw you what. So I'm going to start by using some of these axes that are already created, right? These are specific to this family. So what I'm going to do is go to Create, Extrusion. I'm going to start with a solid extrusion for the door panel. So click on Rectangle. And I'm going to create a rectangle here. And I'm going to lock the relationships to these axes. And hit check. Now we may want to have a door thickness parameter. So in order to do that, I need to create another axis here. Another reference plane. So I go to Create, Reference Plane. Gonna do pick lines and specify thickness, let's say 2 inches. And come in here, create this axis. And then snap your solid form to that one. Reference plane. Reference line is a 2D object. Reference plane is a extended plane, right? So we use reference lines normally in families for rotation. But reference lines, you also normally snap them to some planes. We will mostly work with these in 3D for 3D families, like adaptive components. Now I have a door panel. The next thing I'm going to do is create an annotation. Go to Annotate, Aligned. So what I want to do is choose the reference lines and create a dimension here. And this guy is going to be, let's look at our label. We already have thickness value, so we could already start using this thickness value. So when I go to the label, the door family already has some built-in parameters. There's height, width. I'm going to use the thickness. And then I'm going to go to the exterior. The panel I just created is here. I want to snap it to this top frame as well. So I'm going to type in AL for a line. Choose this reference plane. Choose the top part of the solid form I just created and lock that relationship. And let's go to 3D and do some flexing. If you see the text being too large in 3D, you can change the scale, make it something like a larger scale so that the text gets smaller. So my panel is right now here. I just created a solid panel for the door, right? And I want to do some flexing to see that my door component is working. So I go to Family Types. Let's change the width to be 3 feet. Hit Apply. So my frame is stretching, as well as I want to test the thickness. So I'm going to go to the Plan View and change my thickness. So I'm going to do, let's say 1 inch. Hit Apply. There is a problem with it. Let's say Remove Constraints. Hit OK. And let's do the flexing again. Well, this didn't work. I guess I can create another one. Maybe that's supposed to be parameter for something else. Let's try another annotation. Make sure you're selecting the frames as well, the planes. So I'm going to choose this guy and this guy, and you can place the dimension here. So let's call it door thickness. Let's try this again. Let's make it 2 inches. Hit Apply. Okay, so now those axes are working, but I need to snap my 3D form to that so that it starts stretching along with that plane. Yeah, so now it's working. Okay, so I just created a door panel and gave it a thickness parameter, and every time I'm stretching the overall dimension for the door, it stretches as well. Create a void form as well. So I'm going to go to exterior, and I'm going to create some additional reference lines here. So go to create reference plane, choose pick lines, and enter, let's say, 4 inches. I'm going to offset towards the interior. Well, the door though is opening this way, so I want the panel to be here. Okay, make sure you draw it the right way. I want the glass to be here towards the direction the door is going to open. So go to create reference line, reference plane, draw pick lines, enter a dimension. You're going to parameterize this as well, like 4 inches, and offset these planes from the ground as well, so that we have something here. Then annotate aligned. I want a dimension here, another one here, and 2 on both sides. So these are going to be the glass panel offset that I'm going to create. So I choose one of them, go to label, add parameter, glass panel offset. After you create the parameter, choose the other dimensions by holding the control and give them the same parameter, glass panel offset. And let's do some flexing. So if I go to family types, if I do 2 inches of an offset, hit apply, all of them stretch, right? Next thing I want to do is create a void form inside of this, and then another solid form with a setbacks to define the glass. So yesterday when I was doing this, when I drew the void form on elevation, it didn't work. It worked when I did it in plan, so I'm going to try doing it again to see if it's going to work this time. So I go to create void forms, void extrusion, choose rectangle, and then you want to snap to these new reference lines, the offset reference lines that we created, and then that void form is here, and I want to snap it to the door. And when I go to 3D, yeah, it doesn't work. I don't know why. Let's do it in plan. For some reason it doesn't like being drawn in elevation. Let's do the void form in plan instead. Yeah, it works when you draw it in plan but doesn't in elevation. Maybe there's a bug with it. But anyway, then you can adjust the height for the glass panel. Then when I look at it in 3D, now I have a hole in the door, right? So that's a hole. So I first created the solid form as an extrusion, then I created the void form as an extrusion as well, and the void form just subtracts from the solid form. And if I go to the plan, the void form is somewhere here, and you can snap that to the door frame as well. So let's snap it and lock these relationships, so that when I change the thickness of the door, the opening changes as well. So if I choose, go to type parameters, the door thickness, if I make it 2 inches, the void also stretches with it. Glass panel offset 3 inches. it stretches as well. So my constraints and construction is working. So create this and then do a little bit of stretching to make sure that it's working. Meanwhile, I'm going to try changing my void form. So let's say I choose this guy, go to edit extrusion, well, it's extruded in plan. Well, I guess I can't do it. I want to create like a shape here, but let me see if I can find another way. Void forms, void extrusion. If I do like another triangle, just wondering. Yeah, it doesn't use this one for some reason. Makes it yellow. Huh? I can hear you. Yeah, it works when you do it in plan, but not in elevation. No, it is. It's just like, I mean, even if it's not, it's yellowed out, which means that there's a problem with it. That's why I'm like thinking if we need to change some setting for it. Edit work plane. What if I do cut? So I do choose the door. Well, you can do it via cut. But do we want to do that? I guess you could. You could do it via cut. So you can model the form, which is a void form, and then you can go to the cut option in geometry. Choose the solid door panel, and then choose the void panel, and then you can cut it so that you create the hole. It should be automatic though. Once you model you should be able to model the profile of a void extrusion in any viewport, not just in plan. But I guess you can do it this way too. Well, I don't have any frames here, so let me keep this triangle as well. Let's make it a bit more interesting. So I go to create reference plane. I'm going to create another offset, and I'm going to create another annotation for it. So let's say this guy is the same glass panel offset, and I want to go to this void form I created, edit extrusion, and push it here. And let's see if it's going to stretch. So I go to properties. Let's say if I make the overall width 4 feet, it stretches as well. So it can flex, which is nice. And if I change the glass panel offset thickness, it still works. So the problem was, in order to do the void extrusion in elevation, it just does the extrusion, but it doesn't like automatically subtract the form. So to get that to work, I had to do a cut. So you select cut, you choose the solid frame, and then choose the void form to subtract it to get that to work. Okay, that was like the issue I was having. Then the next thing is to model glass inside of these. So I'm going to go to the elevation again, exterior view, go to create extrusion, and then I'm going to create a single extrusion. So you can sketch this out. So model one here inside the triangle, and then model another one here inside the rectangle hole, and lock these relationships. Lock this guy, lock this guy as well. Hit check, and go to the plan view. Now we need a middle line here, right? So I can create an offset, or if you don't want to parameterize it, you want to make it something consistent, with a uniform thickness, you could simply you could create like three reference planes here. You can go all the way in, and let's say 0.5 inches. You can create 0.5 inch diameter, and then come in here and offset these. Okay, and then you can annotate them from the panel or from the reference line. Let's do the reference line. I select this guy. Let's see, this guy and this guy. Then I want to equalize them. Let me change my scale. I want to equalize these. The last one I don't need. So I get 3 equal frames here. Right? So basically, we are controlling the whole width of the door, and then I have these 2 offsets that are at equal dimensions. So I included this annotation. Right? So however I change the thickness of my door, I will have those 3 equal offsets. So the glass panel will stretch a bit as well. If you don't want that, you could just create some dimension here and lock that dimension so that it will be just fixed. You don't have to parameterize the thickness of the glass panel. And then I'm going to move this guy to that, and this guy moves to the interior side. And when I switch to 3D, now I have those setback panels. And I'm going to choose them, go to material, and choose glass. Hit OK. Now I have glass applied to them, right? So I have glass modeled inside the door.
When you made glass panel offsets, did you lock the middle offset or that?
I didn't. I just equalized them. So when if I now change my door thickness to be, let's say, 4 inches, hit apply, and let's say remove constraints. Something is not working. Let me check. Now this guy is this is the door. The door thickness is working. But these are not working. Let me see why. Maybe, yeah. Maybe let's check that. Or if not, you could just go to annotate. Annotate these 2. Choose this plane. Give it like a dimension, 0.5 inches. And then you can choose that dimension and lock it. Right? Same thing for this guy. So you can lock this relationship, as well as you can create another annotation there. From this to that. If I want to keep that, you can just lock it. So now if I stretch my door thickness, it should keep those dimensions the same. Right? It won't take any effect. So 2 inches. So it's like fixed there. We don't have to have it like parameterized. Yeah, technically, but again, I have to create reference lines, equalize them, and then annotate. So I'm just like being practical. Yeah, it's possible. Now the next thing I'm going to do is go to exterior. I want to get an axis for the handle. So go to create reference plane. You can just draw a reference plane here. Let's say we're going to have something like this. And go to annotate, aligned. You want to position it somewhere in the middle of the glass panel. And if I go to the reference level, that axis is here. And I want to put a handle here and a handle on the other side. And for those, I could do another reference plane and offset them from the side panels, the sides of the door, right? So let's say that offset is going to be 4 inches. So I come in here, offset this guy, offset this guy. So these intersections are going to be the centers of that handle. So I can go to Annotate, Aligned. I can dimension here, and I can dimension here. And this guy, let's give it door handle offset. Hit OK. I'm going to choose the other guy and do the same. Door handle offset, so it stretches. Now the rest is pretty straightforward. Go to Extrusion. Choose the circle. You can parameterize the radius of the circle as well, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to like a model some dimension that I think is going to work. So you can, after you create the circle, you can just specify the dimension. Let's say 0.3 inches. Well, it's a bit thin. I mean, it looks normal actually, but I could also do 0.5. 0.5 inches. Hit check. If I look in 3D, there's an extrusion there for the handle. I'm going to go to exterior, interior, to see that, and I want to move it up to this plane and do the same here. Let's see it in 3D again. It's going to be attached. I'm going to do the horizontal ones through the glass as well. Okay, so it's like a handle that goes through the glass. Okay? It's kind of a weird detail. You're pulling the glass and the glass is pulling the door frame. But I'm just like modeling something that is practical and easier to construct. The next thing is go to reference level. We have the other guy here too. But first I want to check that when I stretch my circle is moving. So door handle thickness, door handle offset, let's make it 4 inches. It's stretching as well, which is good. So I can do 3 inches. And I want to model another guy there. So go to Create, Extrusion. Actually, let me see if I mirror this, it's going to work or not. It may. So if I go to Mirror, Draw Axis, choose this guy, go to Mirror, Draw Axis, and my mirror axis is going to be actually the midpoint of my door, so that I get the copy on the other side. But I want to check now if I change my door handle offset, if it's going to stretch or not. It does, right? Because it's a symmetrical construction. So I could do 2 inches. So now I have handles on both sides. I want to just connect them, maybe at 2 points. So let's do that by going to the exterior view. Switch to wireframe so that you can see through. I'm going to move this equalize a bit up, so somewhere there. Let's see where we could model it. It could be somewhere here, and it could be rectangle too. You can place it in like in a location. You don't have to dimension it, so we can see like what's going to happen when we stretch it. Okay, so it could be something fixed. Go to Create, Extrusion, do a small rectangle here. So let's say I could actually snap this. Let's do a snap. Okay, so I select this reference line, create reference plane, offset. Let's say it's going to be 0.5 inch thick as well. So I can offset to both sides. and we can make it equal. Annotate aligned. We want this offset to be equal as well. Where's the equal sign? Equal is here. And I'm just going to, again, you can keep doing reference planes, but I'm just going to model a simple rectangle here, lock it to those frames. And that guy we may not be able to see in plan view because my plan is cut at a height, at a specific height. So I can lock it using the elevation, one of the elevations, so left or right. And this guy is going to go all the way to this axis, to the center axis of the outer frame, outer handle, and this guy is going to go to the inner one. And you can lock it. And if I look in 3D, it's something like that, right? Just modeling like a handle, like something that is structurally going to hold it. So let's see what's going to happen if I stretch the door. Go to width, 3 feet, hit apply. Well, the offset didn't work, right? So I need to change or lock the offset values now. So go to exterior. These planes need to be fixed, these two. Where I snapped my my handle. So let's see how we can do that. This is equal. Well, I could do create and annotate aligned. I can choose this plane and this plane and give this guy a dimension. It's getting a bit crowded, so let me if you have a lot of large text and you're not able to see anything, just decrease the visual scale here so that the text gets smaller. And the next thing I want to do is choose so this reference plane we can stretch, but we want to lock it to something. We want to do, let's say, align, or let me see, annotate aligned. I want to dimension this guy. There should be a dimension for it somewhere. This dimension is active from the other side. No, I don't want to do that one. Well, we equalized it already. It's just the offset dimension for it is not set. So when I activate it, this guy doesn't seem to work. I'm trying to see. Well, this is not good actually. This doesn't work. I'm going to delete it for now and just move it somewhere here. It's probably not going to stretch though. With no reference lines, it's not going to stretch. So let's do it 4 feet again. Yeah, it's just doesn't have anything to use to stretch. And so let's delete that. Instead, let's draw just a circle there. Just keep it simple because I just have to do a lot of reference lines and lock it just for a ridiculous rectangle. I'm just going to keep it simple. Just find a point on this axis and just model the same radius we had. And this should move along with the plane, so it should be fine. And the radius for it is fixed. So go to exterior, the elevation again, and I want to align this here, and this to the center line of the other pipe. So I have kind of the bar. So let's try to stretch it again. It works, right? You don't have to do all this detailing I'm doing. You can just keep like a solid frame and a void frame for now. I just want you to make a door family and use it for your project. The last thing I'm going to do is select this guy, this handle, and do draw mirror axis again, and find the midpoint of the door and make a copy of it, so that you get like two copies, one on the bottom and one on top. Right, so now I have a door. And do some stretching. Stretch the heights. Well, this one is not locked, right? So I need to lock the other one as well. So I go to left. I want to do a line. I want to align to this plane, this pipe. So do the stretching again. Let's make it to 9 feet and 4 feet. Hit apply. It's working. So now all I have to do is define some standard doors for my project. So if I go to type properties, choose new. Let's create one. Let's say width is 4 feet, height is 10. Hit OK. I can override these properties. Width is 4, height is 10. Hit apply, hit OK. Now we have that added to our collection. I'm going to create a new one. Call it width 3, height 8. So the 4 and 10 could be the door to the hotel room. The 3 and 8 could be the door to the restroom or the bathroom, right? So you can make variations just like the ones that you use for your project. When you place a door, there are some established standard dimensions. It's the same thing. I'm just creating variations here as well. So I choose 3 and 8. I'm going to hit 3 here and 8 there. I can also customize some of these, right? Glass panel offset, maybe it's a bit thinner. Hit apply, hit OK. And if I go to type properties and iterate through this, I have this guy and I have this guy. I have two variations of the same door and they stretch. Say it again? Yes, I changed offsets as well. Say what? So basically, now that I have this door created, I'm going to save this to my desktop. Let's call room door. And I'm going to do load into my project. Go to the plan view. I can choose one of the groups and replace the door with that, right? So I come in here, choose this group, edit group, choose this door. My properties tab is closed, so I go to view, user interface, properties. Now I have been using this guy, but if you click on the drop down, the room door family is here. I've just loaded into my project. So now I can choose the W4H10 configuration and it will replace that. Huh? We're going to work on that. We're going to work on that. We're going to work on the graphic representation of the door as well. It's just I'm just showing you how you can use it as a custom object as well, right? The same thing. I can choose this guy, make it W3H8, so the other one is replaced too. Okay? Now if I do finish, all the groups that belong to this guy is, let's see, this guy was room C. All the room C's got that door. Right? So now if I go to my 3D view, I can see the door here. Right? The door is here. So I made a custom door basically to use in my project, and this is at 10 feet height.
But you wouldn't want to, I mean, if our ceiling heights are 10 feet, you wouldn't want like more like a standard 7 to make the door, right? You wouldn't want to go all the way to the ceiling.
I mean, it's up to you. I think this looks a bit better because it's like from object to object, so you're just dividing the wall vertically. It may be a personal style. I mean, personal preference.
You have to have some sort of header between the, like you couldn't bring it all the way to the top. You have to have something.
You could also do a division here and do like a window on top and a door at the bottom. You could also model something like that, right? It's the same with doing the extrusion family. You just create another like reference plane there for the top window, and then put the door frame at the bottom, and then model the window on top.
Like a train cell?
Yeah, you can do that too. I'm just making a single door. Alright, so I'll wait for you to create something like this. Create like a custom door and load it into your project and use it all around. So what I'm going to do is do the same override to all my other groups. Okay? The smartest way would have been to group, like I had furniture group. In each group I have a furniture group. So if I had made the door part of that as well, it would have been like just one operation to override all the variations of my units. But now I have to actually go through each individual unit group and change the door types as well. But it shouldn't take too long, right? So I can just come in here and make these changes pretty easy. Choose this guy. Finish. So I'm going to do that to this guy as well. Edit group. This guy. Finish. And I should have one more, which is this group D. Edit group. Finish. So now all my walls, all my doors have been changed. I think it looks a lot better when you can also design your own door, because the ones that are already embedded, so like this one, if I choose this door, you want to do edit family, you want to change the family. Yeah, so that just prompts you to the family of the object you created, and it allows you to customize it. Okay, so I actually want to see how this looks in 3D. Let's go to level 1. Let's place a camera. So go to view, 3D view, camera. I'm going to place a camera here and look here. And go to consistent colors. Disable far clip so that you can see the interior. Eye elevation, target elevation, let me see. I just created a camera. So if you go to view, we have been working with 3D views, you can also create a camera. Place it somewhere and then draw. Show camera. You can also change its alignment direction. I'm trying to find where the field of vision is. Rendering settings. Nope. Crop region visible. to Google it, I think. Crop region visible. Eye elevation, target elevation. Okay, I actually didn't record that part. I'll do it again. So to place a camera, go to View, 3D View Camera. Let's place another one on this side. So we can look from here to here. And then it prompts you to that view. And I'm going to change to consistent colors. And I have a far clip plane active that is trimming the model I'm looking at. So what I want to do is far clip active. I want to disable it in properties. So I see the full model. And then these handles that you see in 3D, they control the field of vision. So if you stretch them out, it basically increases the area you can capture. And within this view, you can hold Shift and right click to kind of orient your view a bit more, so you can get to, like, let's say something symmetrical here. But if you want to be more precise, edit your position and target, you can go to level 1 and do those changes here. So you can move your target and camera. Locked orientation. Let me see, why can't I show camera? I don't know, now it doesn't let me to move. Okay, so I'm looking at the interior space. I'm missing the railings, maybe bridge, some other features I could add there. But the doors are looking nice for now. I can also switch to realistic to see the materials. And I guess we could turn on the shadows as well. Well, it's pretty dark. Sun specified project. Yeah, I have to override the sun settings. Let's make it like around noon on a summer day. And the light is coming here. Well, the orientation I can still change probably. It's a bit too dark still. Let's move to shaded. Okay? You can just place a camera. So for the door, so if I go to level 1, right now my custom doors are modeled like this. Drawn like this. Pretty much the way they're modeled in the family. And what we want to do is actually change this graphic representation, right? So I want to choose the family. Go to Edit Family. And this is actually pretty straightforward. Like, you just model some lines, and then you override what you want to see in a plan view, elevation view, and a 3D view. So you can like filter through these elements. So you can also add two-dimensional model lines here and use them for drafting, basically. So typically this door would have a frame here, right? And then it will swing to it. So we will have an arc going to it. But we don't want to see all this stuff that we just modeled. So what we want to do first is to go to Create. Annotate symbolic line. So it's basically just a graphic element. It's not a three-dimensional element. It will be only visible on the views that we want it to be visible. I go to symbolic line, and then we already have some subcategories built in with the family. So here you could choose kind of hidden lines, glass cut, panel cut, so stuff that you want to get some properties of, right? So for this case we want to get the door frame, maybe. So we could do frame mullion cut or the panel cut. Let's start with the panel cut. I'm going to come in here, go up by 4 feet because it's a 4 feet door. Come down here with the door thickness, which is 2 inches, and then come down here and then close it. So I basically have drawn this like two-dimensional lines. And then the next thing I want to do, actually let me first check, my total width was 3 feet, so let me change this to be at 3 feet. No, we are in the family. I'm changing this in the family so that it could take effect in the everywhere, yeah. And then the next thing I want to do is annotate symbolic line again. We want to do plan swing, cut or projection. Let's do projection. And you want to do an arc. So center ends arc. So my center is going to be this corner of the door. I'm going to go all the way here and then draw the swing. So now I have drawn the panel and the swing. And if I go to type properties and stretch it, let's see if it's going to work. It stretches the two-dimensional drawing as well, according to the variation I had, which is nice, right? Okay? So it's just basically drafting simple lines, and then they become adaptive as well. So when you stretch with the variations, they do stretch as well. Now this guy though gets another thickness that we may not want. And this guy, let me see. Well, I may want to activate this dimension. Let me see if I can get a fix around this. Door frame, door thickness. Well, this is belonging to something else. Let me see where it's coming from. Okay, it's one of these. So instead, what we want is to have another offset here. Let's say 2 inches. Create this guy. Annotate aligned. Well, this one is stretching as well because it's snapping to this reference plane. I'm trying to find a workaround. Door thickness. Then let's see if I move this to be here. I can lock that model line. Let's see if the door frame is going to be consistent. Yeah, it stays consistent now. So you can also lock those model lines to two-dimensional to reference planes that you're modeling, so that when you do stretches, they kind of follow those reference lines as well, reference planes. Okay? So these lines I just drew, they're just under annotation symbolic line, they're just two-dimensional objects. And what we want to do is use them for graphic representation in plan view. Yeah? So there are tons of subcategories there, I know. So basically, you can use these subcategories to associate the lines you're modeling to certain line weights or settings. For me, I just used plan swing cut. Plan swing cut and panel cut. So panel cut I used to model the door. Plan swing cut I used to draw the arc. Right? But if you want to add detail like handle, glass panel that is embedded in the door, you could use these established settings to add those details. Alright? Otherwise, you can just keep it simple. I'm not asking for too much complexity. Then the next important thing is you want to go to 3D, and you see that we are getting all this drafting detail here, right? The handles, the glasses, the panels. Maybe we don't want to see all that detail in the plan view. We want to see just this model line. The way to do that would be you need to go to 3D, select these individual units, elements. Let's say the door panel. You go to visibility and graphics, go to edit, and you want to override the view specific display of that element in the family. So what we want to do is we don't want to see it in plan, and we don't want to see it when it's cut. So you want to uncheck these so that when you're drawing or when you're graphically representing this family in plan view, that element will not be represented. Instead, you will be only seeing the model lines we just made. Okay? Sure. So I went to select the object in 3D, just the frame in this case, the solid object, and go to visibility and graphics for it, and I want to uncheck the plan and when cut in plan. If you uncheck just this guy, when you import it in the project, if your floor plan is cutting it at a height, when that element is cut, it will be graphically represented as well, colliding with the two-dimensional lines we just drew. So if you don't want to see that, you just uncheck this too. Hit OK. You can also specify the detail level you want to see it, right? You can deselect these, but since we're not going to see it in plan, we don't need to specify that. I select OK. I'm going to do the same thing for the other elements. So I can go to like an exterior view, choose all these elements here. Actually, I need to do them one by one, I think. So go to, let's do this handle, deselect plan view, when cut in plan view. Where's the glass? This is the glass. Deselect in plan view, when cut in plan view. And I'm going to do the same thing to these guys. So this guy, I don't want to see it in plan view. And this guy as well. So these are basically object-specific overrides, right? So when I go to my floor plan, they will be grayed out. So they won't be visible in plan view anymore for this family. They are three-dimensional objects. I will be seeing them in 3D views and elevation views, but I won't be seeing them in plan views. If I don't want to see an element in elevation view, I can uncheck that as well in elevation view. It will not show because I unchecked that option. I don't want it to see it even if it cuts it, right? Because I want to see only these model lines that I just made to graphically represent the plan drawing of this family. Now, after you do these setting changes, you go to load into project. You want to do override existing version, and it will apply the graphic representation you made. Now I'm still seeing something here, which is one of those other additional model elements, and I need to uncheck that as well. That's actually a good way of checking your work around, right? So I go to Edit Family, 3D, I think it's this guy here. Go to Edit, you don't want to see it in plan or when cut, hit OK, load into project, it's gone. So now my 2D representation is like this, but my 3D representation will still be the whole model because I still want to see these details in 3D but not in 2D. Same thing goes for the sections. So if I cut, let's make a new section, go to level 1. I'm going to cut the section here. Go to View, Section. Let's say I want to cut it here. And look in the other direction. Section 3. All the detail of the door will be visible still, right? But if I don't want to see some of these features, I can also uncheck them in the family and they won't be visible. There's something happening with this arrow. Let me see. This arrow is not correct. Go to Edit Family. Yeah, this guy needs to be... It needs to be here. Yeah, fix that dash line as well. Okay? You can also add shadows. Alright, so change the graphic override for the door. Go to the plan view. Go to Edit Family. Plan view, go to Annotate, symbolic line, draw the objects or the things you want to see in plan view, and then draw the swing, And the next thing you want to do is select all the three-dimensional objects you modeled and hide them in plan drawing. So you select a three-dimensional object, go to Visibility and Graphics, and uncheck Plan RCP and when cut in Plan RCP. You can do them in Plan View as well, but to make sure that you don't get any elements, I would recommend doing it in 3D. So you can go through all the elements as well. Okay? We have an offset value. It was buggy for some reason. And what I did was, let's say if you go to type properties, you mean these, right? The formulas? So you can associate them according to some properties as well. For instance, maybe we want the glass panel offset to be parametrically connected to the overall width of the door. So we want it to be like proportional to the width of the door. You can use a formula here. So you could type in width over, let's say, in my case, I want it to be width over 8. So that this will be like 6 inches, right? And if I hit apply, it will recalculate this value using the width parameter and override this value in the project. So now my glass panel offset is directly connected to the width of my door. So if I change the total width, let's make it 5 feet, this value will be recalculated automatically as an expression. And then I can hit apply, and then it will change simultaneously when I'm changing my width of the door. Is that helpful? But make sure that in the formula, whatever you're writing here as text is exactly the same text as here, because these are string values in the Revit family. So if you want to use it as a parameter, you need to write it exactly the same. No space. You're writing a formula. I could like put a parenthesis here, type in times some other value as well if I want, right? We're going to work with formulas later on when we do like more complex families. But now you can do simple stuff like this. So if you want some elements to be proportional to each other within the family, okay? This is where you would include formulas. Anything else? We have also some other families. Let's look up the column family. So let's create a column family quick. So go to View, Close Hidden. So I'm going to go to Revit, New Family, and I'm going to do the column. So similar to the other one, the furniture family we worked on, the column family has a horizontal and a vertical axis and some basic offset values. And in elevation, it will have a corresponding floor level height, right? And what I'm going to do is a simple sweep. Simple revolve, which basically is a 3D shape sweeping a 2D profile, right? So we will have an axis of rotation, axis for the revolution, and then we will draw a profile that we want to revolve around it. So I'm going to click on Revolve, and I'm going to start with the axis line option, and I'm going to specify the axis line to be here, and lock that relationship to the base and the top. And then I go to boundary line, and I'm going to model a profile here. So let's say that profile is going to be something like this. So you can also create additional reference lines or planes, but I'm going to do, let's say, a 5 feet offset all the way here, then 6 inches, and maybe this comes in. You can also make it through multiple steps. So I can come in here. Let's say that's going to be an arc. I could have actually drawn the reference line, but that's fine. Let's come in here. So maybe it's something like this. Right? And this has to be a closed boundary, so I'm going to close it here, lock it. When I hit check, it will create the, yeah, like the Frank Lloyd Wright, right? And similar stuff that we've been talking about. So the graphic representation for this object, you could model any type of feature here, any type of detail, and then choose the three-dimensional object, go to visibility and graphics, and uncheck the plan view or setting, because you may not want the, like, let's say you have a three-dimensional object that is tapering. You want to represent it graphically with a specific radius value. You can just model that radius here and then use that for the plan cut drawing, right? Rather than cutting the whole three-dimensional object itself. So we could do, like, uncheck these two. Hit OK. I actually want to do a bit of flexing to this to see if it's going to work. Sure, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. So let's work on that. So I want to specify there's an upper level, but do we have a type property for the height? We don't. So might as well create an annotation. Let's see if we can use this for the column height. And when I stretch it, well, it's fine. There's reporting. Let me change that to be type property. Let's make this 10. Let's remove constraint. Well, I guess this has to be constructed through a reference plane as well. So let's do that. Create, annotate. Column height. Now if I go to edit revolve, I can snap to this reference plane. Pretty much similar stuff we have been doing, right? I can also create another offset plane here for that thickness. This guy, let's move it there. These guys, let's move it here. Hit check. Let's see if it's going to stretch. Otherwise, I may have to make it a bit more. Okay. Well, it doesn't like it. Let me uncheck this guy. And then snap. Can we snap this to? Okay. Okay, this stretches that though, the top part. And when I go below, it's going to break the revolution. And that's something we don't want. So basically, the way I would approach the modeling of this is you may want to break this into lines and arches, and then snap them to specific reference lines that you create with offset values, so that you'll be able to stretch it uniformly, right? But in this case, if you're just modeling one custom column that you want to do at a specific height, you could do it this way. So you could just model this, sketch the profile and just model it, but to create variations you need to be more precise with reference planes. Sure, absolutely. So I'll just delete this. Let's specify 10 feet for our column height. So if I go to create, I use revolve. I'm going to do boundary line. I'm going to do axis line first. Huh? Yeah. I draw the profile in elevation. Depends on how you want to do the revolve. I'm going to specify the axis line in the middle of the column. And then switch to boundary line and draw the profile you want to revolve around that axis. Right, so in this case I made like 5 feet. I went down a bit, 6 inches. Then I left it there, came here, connected these two, and then switched to spline. I started here, clicked on this point and went there, right? And then spline is pretty nice because you can also modify these handles later on. You could also add more control points. Let's see if I can add more control points. If you select these lines, you can make it a bit more like a bezier. You could have control over how much you want the arc to go. So let's say something like this. When I hit check, it just does the revolution. And I have something like this. Well, the 3D representation is pretty sketchy. It's dancing. Let's add something else to this. Let's go to the front. Let's look at some other stuff as well. Let's do a sweep. So sweep is similar too. In this case, you create a path, and then you draw a profile, and then it sweeps it along that profile. And I'm going to do a sweep. This time, I'm going to go to the lower reference level for the ceiling plan, so that I can see the circle. And maybe I want to add a profile around. Yeah. Can you add another reference level? If you go to, let's see, I'm in a command right now. If you go to view, that's a good question. Upper reference level, we should be able to add that. It doesn't allow me to do it though. No, I mean, I don't see a plan view here. I guess you can't. Like, you just have to use these, the ones that you have. I don't think so. It doesn't even allow me to create another section using create similar. I don't think you can add another view. But what I was doing is to do a sweep. Go to create sweep. This is similar to the revolve. So we were defining an axis and a profile to revolve around it. In this case, you would sketch the path. So my path is going to be the circle, right? And then if you look at what the path has, we have a reference plane here where we would draw the profile that we want to sweep, and then the line in magenta is the path. It's going to be swept along that path, right? When I hit check to the path, then I want to do, well, you can actually choose or load a profile that is already in the library. Let's say you want to use a specific steel section. You can go to select profile or a load profile, and then go to profiles, let's say railings. You can choose any of these existing profiles. Later on, we're going to draw our own profile for louver family. But for now, let's see if we can find something that we can use. There's curtain wall profiles, division profiles, well, wall stairs. There are cornices, so we could use one of these, right? It's going to look baroque, but at least it's something. So let's say we use cornice precast, this guy. I'm going to hit open. And if I go to edit profile and open the profile representation in one of these views, so it's kind of recommending me to open an elevation. I'm going to do open view. Well, it has drawn it here. Well, let me hit X, select profile. Well, we can load it here. If you select profile, the profile we just loaded is here. If you do cornice precast, it just places it there, right? And then I should be able to flip it. If I do flip, I can flip it to the other side. Now, this axis is this axis, right? It's basically located on the path that we created for our sweep, and then it gives me a coordinate system on that sweep path line, where I can draw a profile and then sweep it along that profile. And I'm actually seeing it here, these two lines, and the red dot is basically the path where this profile is on. And I'm going to check for now to show you what it does. So it just created this sweep. Right, the elevation is off. So if I go to edit sweep, sketch path, choose this guy. Let me see if we can move it somewhere else. If I do set work plane, pick a plane, let's see, open view. I think I'm relocating it here, the height of it. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to show you the sweep. Of course, it's a gigantic profile. Let's model our own from scratch so that we can review this process again. I'm going to delete this guy. Go to sweep. So the sweep, you need to draw a path and select a profile, right? But to draw the path, you also need to specify a work plane, the level where you're drawing the path, right? Because it's a two-dimensional object. Now if I do set work plane, we have some basic options. We can either choose one of the reference levels where we want to draw or sketch our path. So in this case, I have a lower reference level ceiling plan, right? So there's in the level, there's upper reference level. I can draw my path there. So I'm going to choose that one. Or you can do pick a plane and hit OK. When you have pick a plane, you can choose, I think, this surface, and you'll be able to sketch your path on that surface. I'm going to choose that guy and go to the plan view and draw a circle there, like this. And I'm going to hit check. So now if I switch to 3D, my path has been created on that work plane, right? I define the plane, the top surface of the revolution, the column, as my work plane. Then I sketch this path on it. Now I'm going to choose a profile to draw here. I could go to select profile. If I do edit profile, I could sketch something here and then use that for the sweep. So if I go to an elevation view and switch to these lines, I can model something here. So let's say we sketch a profile, something like this. It has to be a closed profile, right? So that's my profile. My path is there as well. I hit check again, and basically I added a sweep along the face of that column, right? So this guy is created with the revolve tool by defining a central axis and the profile to revolve around it. This guy is a sweep defined by a path and a profile that kind of goes around, that sweeps along that path. Okay. Any questions about this one? how to model these. I mean, you can do so many custom things with this. You could also do sweeps in other viewports, but the trick is to work on specific viewports and levels. Right. So in this case, I started in 3D to be able to select this top surface to define my path. So if you choose this sweep, go to Edit Sweep, my path is here. And it's always associated to a work plane. Work plane sets up a level where you want to sketch something to, right? And this work plane could be a plan view and an elevation. It's all your choice. And the profile is there. And anytime I can come in here, edit the profile. So let's change it to be something else. Let's say we do, and the sweeps could also be void geometry too. So let's actually do that. Let's see if we can do that. I go to select profile, edit profile. Let's delete these guys, and instead I'm going to model an arc, something like this. I'm going to hit check again. Now my sweep is changed, right? If I go to 3D, now I have a sweep object here, something like this, and I'm going to change it from solid to void. Hit apply. Let me see. Maybe. Let's see if it's having trouble cutting it out. If I do cut, yeah. If you do cut, you can cut it out as well. So you can do negative forms with sweeps as well, or with revolution. Okay. So you can also use these sweeps, for instance, to model the path on the windowsill, and then like create a profile and then go around it. If you want, I can quickly show that. Let's see. Let's open our door family again. This is the door family. So these guys, I'm not sure if actually I think they're drawn in the model as well. They were in the model, right? So if I go to my elevations, yeah, the frames are there. I can see the frames. So maybe we want to do panels on two sides, right? So if I do that, if I want to do that, let's do it using a sweep for a change. So I'm going to choose this guy. Turn on visible. So it's not going to be visible anymore in the door. These guys, I'm trying to get rid of them, basically. This guy is not visible as well. And then I'm going to go to create. Let's do sweep. And I'm going to do sketch path. But first, I'll go to exterior. Or let's go to 3D. I'm going to do set work plane. And pick a plane. And I'm going to pick this surface, the outer surface of my wall. And then I can sketch the path there. So let's say this is going to be my path. Now I'm doing this in 3D because, like, I have done this before, but you may want to do this in elevation after you choose the work plane, right? So my path is created, and what you see here is where, like, there's kind of a perpendicular plane associated to this path where you would draw your profile. I'm going to hit check to the path, then do edit profile, and I can draw the profile now. So if I go to the plan view, that axis is here. So let's say we draw something there. So I'm going to go out, go in, go here. So I'm replacing the old one with this one. Okay? I'm gonna hit check again. That's a sweep. Right? So I can create kind of an extruded door frame if I want to. Now all I have to do is load this into the project. I don't think the top portion would be visible because the total height of my door is 10 feet. It goes to the ceiling, but at least I'll be able to see the ones on the sides. Let's see. I think it's on the inside. It placed them on the inside. Yeah, they're placed on the inside. I have to model them on the other side. Go to Edit Family. This sweep, I'm going to choose it. Do Mirror, Draw Mirror Axis, and delete this one. Load it back into my project. So they will be added there. Let's see if they are. Well, they're kind of embedded in the wall. So let's see. Right, it's a sweep. Okay, so the next assignment is not posted yet.